sort of in shaping what the editorial voice, if there is one, or how you go about this, or what's your difference, it's sometimes useful to think about what would be the perfect story for Hashbrook.
Right now, for me, the perfect story in Hashbrook is the pool story, the swimming pool story.
The closure one.
Yeah, the whole subject is really interesting because it relates to the personality of the city. It relates to all the communities involved. It involves the city council. It involves in lots of things, and it has such a big potential in terms of story in whichever way we want to tell it. That I think that is for me it's the biggest story in there. We've been doing lots of different stuff. We're covering concerts and other interesting stuff, but as a local news story, the swimming pool story that Andrew's been covering is the biggest one.
It becomes newsworthy in cycles, doesn't it?
I could see that story in a newspaper, like half page.
How much coverage has that had in the press?
What, the Moseley Broke Bath thing, or just not very much as far as I can tell.
It's a neglected subject.
I think what's interesting about that is that has been a story in Birmingham for a number of years, probably at least 5 years. So you've probably had an article or two in the Birmingham Post and the Mail when it happened, when the big pool closed. You had a story about that. You might have had a feature a few weeks later about how it's not going to open. A few nibs later on, saying that the councillors have decided they're not going to do anything with it, and then beyond that, it got dropped. And of course, the reporters at the Post and Mail look at that and they go, "That's old news." There's nothing.
There's no new angle with this.
We have the right timing now because I think we're reaching a tipping point with the pool situation. That's when I look at your text, at your stories and your articles. I feel that something it has to change, or people are really wanting to change things now. So I think this is the right moment to cover that story.
Yeah, well, we've been lucky in the sense that they've started to do a redevelopment of the pools, but they've got a massive funding shortage. So there is an issue there. We need to do more about it. Again, it comes down to this thing of I've got about 5 or 6 different ideas about what I can do with it next.
Well, and
I should probably write a post on the website saying, what would you like me to do next, sort of thing.
Yeah, we have to open that too.
And also you were concerned, weren't you, that you didn't want it to be, you didn't want to just be the pool man.
Well, I already smell of chlorine, so there is a danger there. I don't mind being the pool man, per se. I'm just, it's just that thing of I've got a lot of things that I've been taught, and Joanna was sort of pointing some of that out earlier about this kind of, neutrality, bullshit, if I can use that expression. That I've been taught. I was taught it when I first arrived in a local newspaper. In fact, before when I first trained, and then I was told to do things and to have an attitude towards a story. And I'm fighting against that to a certain extent with all of this, because part of me thinks, well, is that really interesting? Should I really be going to every swimming pool in Birmingham and swimming in them and writing about it? And what how does that is that really news? And there's big question marks about what I've been trained to do and what I'm doing now, and whether or not it works. So I think it's that, because usually you're in that situation of you can't waste your time on in a traditional newsroom. You can't. You get into so much trouble. I get into trouble for being an hour late into the office after going to a press conference or something like that. If I'd spent too long talking to someone in an interview, I could get into trouble for that. So suddenly it's a really different world.
That's what I really like about this at the moment, is the experimentation element. That's what I'm really thriving on at the moment. It's just throwing ideas out there and just and just seeing what happens to them. And I really like that process. It's instead of print, where I used to hone it before it was let go, and it obviously went through a whole subbing process and all that kind of thing before it hit the streets. Now you kind of put it out
Just kidding.
It was that of throwing.
Now you can send it out partially formed and it becomes something else, and that's really exciting. This week I've started doing a cycling story, which I'm hoping to have as a long feature again. That's where I put it on the site. And
We're getting comments
at the
and
moment,
everything.
I'm not sure. I'm getting comments and getting feedback, and I'm not sure where it's quite going. I thought I knew where it was going, but I don't think it is going that way now.
Well, you can change always. That's the thing.
And because I'm learning stuff. I'm learning stuff about
People that told you
subjects
stuff, haven't
because
you?
I didn't know about it before. That's another thing. A journalist kind of had to be the authority on it before in the past, and now I've got a bit of information, and I'm asking for more information.
And I think a lot of that is down to the fact that we're stepping into an already very strong blogging scene in Birmingham.
Yeah.
So, for example, I had the idea the other week of launching, because we noticed there were loads of 80s bands playing in Birmingham, so we're going to do an 80s music map. And I sort of put it out and said, right, we're going to do this, and somebody said, well, there already is one.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, fair enough.
John
But,
Bounds.
John Bounds.
It becomes a very familiar phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
John Bounds
John Bounds has already done that.
about a million times.
But it's quite nice that that's half the problem and half the benefit, that we're stepping into a community that's already very strong, very vocal, and has been going for ages. So it's a lot of time we are going to do things that we wouldn't do. But then hopefully they'll also come back and say, actually that hasn't been done before, so that's good. So it's quite an odd community to step into, really, and terrifying at the same time.